Hello everybody, this is BadBoyHalo with the Saints of Games, and let me tell you about the time when I took out power for thousands, if not tens of thousands of people. Let's begin. Alright everybody, so if you saw my previous video where I talked about my house flooding, right, and I'll link that here if you want to go check it out, I mentioned a story at the very end that some of you said you were interested in hearing, where I said that I had taken out power for thousands of people in the past, and that was one of my most horrible experiences. And a lot of you guys want to hear it, so I thought, hey, let me share that story with you. This is totally true. All of this is 100% legit, and a lot of you guys try to guess in the comments section, like, oh, well, how would BadBoyHalo take out power for thousands of people? And a lot of you guys tried to guess. No one figured it out, but some of you were close. So I'm just going to go into the story. First things first, no, it wasn't anything to do with me at home plugging in a computer that like short-circuited the whole neighborhood or anything like that. It's much more severe than that. So let me just start right from the beginning. All right, so I was leaving work, heading home. It had been a long day at work. I used to work, for those of you, a lot of you guys know this already, but I used to work as a school, basically as a, quote, teacher, working with students one-on-one and whatnot. So I was heading home from that, and as I'm driving home down the road, I ended up having a problem with my car. The car I was driving at the time was a red pickup truck, and it was currently in the news. This car brand was having a lot of issues where the car would just have this mechanical problem which would cause people to lose control of their vehicle. And so I was driving home. I ended up losing control of my car due to this problem, and it was literally just the worst time because I was going around this curve when I lost control of my vehicle and slammed headfirst into a telephone pole. Now, hitting this telephone pole immediately just like knocked all the air out of me. My airbag exploded, punching me in the face, like knocking me unconscious, just like all the air out of me, and I'm just like, dazed, and my car hits it, goes bouncing, like bounces off the telephone pole, and then like bounces like into this field, right? And I'm just sitting there in my car. The entire right side of my car, like the passenger seat, is like crushed in. If someone had been in that seat, it would have killed them. They would have been dead. Like, that's how hard I hit this telephone pole. And I hit this telephone pole really hard because right after I hit it, the telephone pole came crashing down behind me. Literally, I hit it so hard that the telephone pole fell over. I knocked a telephone pole over, which is something that you probably rarely ever see happen when a car, usually a car will wrap around a telephone pole when it hits, but luckily I didn't hit it straight on. So because I hit it on the right side of the car, it hit it, and then I like ricocheted off. So luckily that helped me. Now, unluckily, when the first telephone pole fell over, it pulled down the second telephone pole right next to it as well. So two telephones were pulled out, so two telephone poles were pulled down in one hit. So I got a 2-for-1 headshot. In hindsight, it was pretty sweet, but at the time I was freaking out because I lived in Florida at the time, and it was not my car that I was driving, it was my dad's car. And so I was freaking out because I'm like, oh my gosh, my dad's gonna kill me, because I just crashed his car. So I was not, enthusiastic about it, and I'm freaking out. And I'm like, trying to think about what to do. I get out of the car, and I'm still in a daze, and I like walk away from the car a little bit. I'm watching like the electric things that are on the top of power lines. They're like exploding, like as they're laying on the ground where they had hit. And I'm just like sitting in the grass, freaking out, like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? And I take out my phone, getting ready to send my parents a text. And then I look, and this is what's crazy about it. So I had been on the way home, but the place where I had hit, right? The telephone pole that I had hit. This is what's so crazy about the situation. I hit this telephone pole, which pulled down another one. And right after I hit it, probably less than like 30 seconds, the fire department right next to it, there was a fire department and a police station right next to where I had hit within like a minute's drive. But these guys, the fire department doors swing up, and the fire truck drives like less than 100 feet and stops. They had the sirens on it and everything for this little bitty drive, right? They're literally just like okay, we're here. And all these firemen get out of this fire truck, and these cop cars literally pull out of the police station that's right there. And they come over, and they're driving over, and they turn sirens on, everything, for probably less than 100 feet worth of driving. And then they're here, they all get out, they're looking at it, they're setting up their little flares in the road and the cones and whatnot. And the firemen come over to me, and they see me sitting in the grass, and they're talking to me, and they're like, oh my gosh, are you all right? You know, they're trying to, you know, see how I'm doing. I'm overall okay. Like, the tip of my nose was burnt a little bit, and like my wrist was hurting, but other than that, I'm pretty much all right. And I'm just like amazed that I wasn't, you know, just taken out. But they're looking at it, and they're like, oh wow, you took out both telephone poles with one hit. They're actually like impressed at the carnage that had happened. Luckily, no one else was hurt. No one else was in the path of the vehicle, the telephone poles, or anything like that. So everybody was fine. But things get even crazier, okay? So the two power lines that I took down, the reason why there were two so close together is it was like a junction between two like separate areas where they had one big region set of power lines and another big region set of power lines that covered this humongous region, right? So the two power lines that I took out just so happened to cover this huge swath of over 10,000 houses, right? And so when these power lines went down, so did the power for over like 10,000 houses. So thousands of people were without power for over 24 hours in Florida, which, if you guys know, Florida is really hot, getting into like the upper 90s, and people have no power, no air conditioning, and people were furious. There was a news site that published a story about this, and people were posting in the comments, just like there were comments about people saying, I just want to kill the guy that did this. You know, I hope he dies. Like, people were upset. Like, they're saying, I had to go out and charge my phone, you know, in my car. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to get up for work. Like, people are talking about how it was so hot. If people had, you know, been able to see me on the street, they would have killed me. They were so upset, which I don't blame them. But so my house was just outside of the radius of houses that got hit with the power. So I drove home or I went home when my parents came and picked me up, and I was still able to, you know, go to a house that was air conditioned. So I was, you know, I didn't really suffer as much as a lot of these other people. You know, I suffered in other ways, but not in the same way on that particular night. But it gets even crazier than this. There's still more. So there was a school district that was just about to start their freshman orientation. So it's near the end of summer. It's getting to the start of the school year. And this local high school that was within the radius of what, you know, the power outage, they were going to have a freshman orientation day, which everybody who's been a freshman knows that that's when they bring in all the freshmen and let them go to all their classes, get used to their schedule, check out their locker, all that stuff. So they had no power that day. So guess what? They couldn't do a freshman orientation day. So all of these freshmen missed out on their orientation day and were unable to go to orientation, and they just totally missed out on it. They were very upset, I'm sure, but it is very, very, I find it in hindsight very funny at how many people this one incident affects, where it basically caused all of this havoc for all of these people, you know, who basically had to sleep in a really hot, you know, in a really hot house on one of the hottest days, and had to, you know, a bunch of freshmen did get to go to school. And another point is the road was blocked off by power lines, and this was like one of the only roads connecting between these two areas. So people that lived like on either side had to take like a 15 to 20 minute detour around, you know, what would have taken them like a minute to get from place to place. So it just affected so many people. And yeah, in hindsight, I find it kind of funny, you know, when you think about it, but I'm telling you, at the time, I was freaking out. I was, you know, not having a good day. And it was just a nightmare for a really long time. And this was a couple years back. This wasn't anytime recent. This was like you know, a couple of years back when I still worked at, you know, the school, and I'm just saying it was not a fun experience. But yeah, the ambulance came, checked me out and everything, said I was okay. I ended up being able to go home. You know, it's funny, when I sat in the ambulance, the first thing they do when you're in an accident and the ambulance comes to check you out is they check to see if you'd been drinking, right? And so I'm in the ambulance, and the paramedic lady, who was very nice, by the way, kudos to her if she ever sees this, but she's very nice. She put these like things on my chest to measure like my heart rate and things like that, and then she like checking my eyes and talking to me, asking me questions to see like, and at one point she like leans in and like smells my breath to see if I had any, like, not like noticeably, she just, I see her, like, I notice her like taking a breath, like inhaling to see like if she can smell alcohol on my breath. So it was kind of funny. Obviously I hadn't been drinking, and so they were like, okay, you know, it's I told them what had happened. They're like, okay, a mechanical issue, and you know, it was done and taken care of. But yeah, a very interesting event, probably one of the things I'll never forget for as long as I live. I still sometimes have nightmares while I wake up and imagine, you know, that impact. Just absolutely horrible. Do not ever want to get in another car accident again. Alright everybody, that's it for this video. Please give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and we've got more awesome hacker content and whatnot and stories coming later as well, and a top 5 coming soon. And also be sure to check out my server at munchiemc.com. If you would like to check out any of my other stories or anything, videos that are related to this that you might enjoy, click this playlist here that I've created. And that's pretty much it, guys. Give the video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Let me know what you think, guys. Is that crazy? Has anything like this happened to you? Let me know in the comments section. And I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.